Oh, I see a couple attendees already. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Starting to come through fast and furious now. We jumped on at 1:58 thinking everybody would be sitting there waiting for us. So I'm glad that nobody sat and waited that long. All right, they're still coming in. Great, welcome everybody. Welcome to The Price is Right. You know, nowadays with The Price is Right has got to be a really good show since all the materials have gone up so much.
No kidding. You
And
wouldn't be able to
prices.
tell, would you?
Yeah, you know, that I think that'd be a really good game right now. How much is Clorox wipes? $32 for a 4-pack. All right, people still coming in. Welcome everybody.
Good afternoon.
All right, we're going to try to start promptly at 2. And so if you just hang with us for one more minute, then we'll start our introductions. All right, still got people coming in. All right, I can't thank you all enough for coming. This is great. It's going to be a little difficult, I think, for us to all learn how to use this, but I think we'll get it. All right, we are at 2 o'clock. We got a pretty good crowd here. So let's see. How about we just start? All right. My name is James Kelly. I am the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for what is called Brio Living Services. Brio Living Services is the connection between Porter Hills on the west side of the state, United Methodist Retirement Communities on the east side of the state, and have come together to form one organization, and we call it Brio Living Services. I'd also like to introduce Kate Collins. Kate Collins is the Corporate Development Officer. So, Kate, do you want to say hi?
Good afternoon, everybody.
And I'll give you a fair warning. Kate and I get along really well, so we may pick on each other throughout this presentation. And then the other person you see there is Natalie Jensen. And Natalie also works in the sales and marketing department with me. And she is the brains behind the operation. So you may hear her pipe in once in a while and go, James, you missed a question. James, you forgot about this. So we're gonna try to go from there. A couple housekeeping items. Your video will not be on. So we will not be able to see you, but you will be able to see us. Just to kind of run you through the screen a little bit, there is a Q&A section. The Q&A section is where we are going to ask our questions for the survey as we go through, and we'll talk about that. And then there's also a, I guess in the Q&A section too, you can ask us questions as well. So the survey portion of this is a little new to us, so hang tight. If you have questions, just write them in the Q&A, and we'll go from there. Okay. So this is recorded, so we wanted you to know that. Whatever comments you type in or whatever, they actually only come to Natalie and Kate and I. No one else sees them. So feel free to write whatever you want. Be nice. That's all I ask. All right. So we're here today because we mailed out a survey to 30,000 people. We got over 700 responses. Nat, do you want to go to the first slide? There we go. So what we are discussing is we want to build a expansion at Porter Hills Village. So to be very clear about what that is, we want to build an expansion. And the expansion would consist of independent living apartments. And so what we're asking you today, well, we want to talk to you a little bit about who we are and what we do. And then we want to ask you some questions about, would you be interested in some new offerings at the village? So Kate, I'm going to ask you to talk in a second here. I want to explain what Porter Hills Village is first. Porter Hills Village is a retirement community. Let's start there. It is independent living, assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing, all on one campus. Now, while it is predominantly independent living, anyone that is, I don't know, even my age, quite honestly, we sit here and say, all right, we're healthy, but in the back of our minds, we know one day we're probably going to need some long-term care. And so Porter Hills Village is an ideal scenario for that, for the reason that if you do need more care, it's all right on campus, but predominantly it's independent living. And we're going through what's called Porter Hills Reimagined right now, which is renovations. And I'm going to ask Kate to talk about that because she is in charge of that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Right now, we have started a project. We broke ground in July for our first phase of the reimagination of Porter Hills Village. And that first phase is an investment in common spaces, new common spaces and amenities, and reimagined activity areas for people in the independent living areas of Gardens Apartments East and Garden Apartments West. So we're building a large new dining venue on the back of the building, which overlooks the golf course, which is just a lovely place to be. We are taking our current common areas and reinventing those to create a life learning studio, demonstration kitchen, movie theater, radio station, a new cafe dining venue, a game room, and a pet spa. And that work has been going on for a number of months. We're on time and on schedule, which is something that is very important when it's tied to future rents for people who are moving in. We're really looking forward to it, and it will be complete on July 1st of 2023.
And I'm holding Kate to July 1st, or she's going to owe me a frosty beverage. All right. So why are you here, right? We want you. The reason you're here is because we really need your opinion. If we're going to look at trying to do some type of expansion on the campus, we would really like to know what you want. What Kate and I want is probably different from what you may want, and what somebody else may want might be different from what you may want. So your opinion matters. Go back. One. There we go. Okay. So we mailed out 30,000 surveys to folks in the area, and they are age, income, and asset qualified. And what that means is they're over the age of 70. They have enough assets to afford to live in the community and enough income to afford to live in the community. So out of those 30,000, we got 700 responses. In the marketing world, 0.5% is a good return. So this ended up being, I think, about a 2.5%, 2.2, 2.3. Not really good at math, really good at sales, marketing, but a really good response. And so that prompted us to push this presentation. And so this presentation is to show you the answers to some of the questions from the survey, as well as talk to you a little bit more in depth about some of those questions and a little bit more in depth about what those questions mean and what comes out of those, because I think that's pretty important. So the first question, which I think is really pretty interesting, is we asked people, how old are you? And it looks like from the respondents, 55 were 75 years old. So that is an interesting number, because when you do an expansion, typically the younger people are interested in something new and different and whatever it may be. So I'm not surprised that the majority are 75. The next highest number is 74, so around the same ballpark. The next one, though, is 80. And I find 80 very interesting, because 80 is typically the age when someone is really looking to say, I'm not just looking at a retirement community, I want to move. And they move typically within a couple of years. They do their research. They say, all right, this is the last Christmas in the house, then we're going to move. But, that's a typical kind of mentality of retirement communities. So if that helps you, I hope it does. So when we look at, we ask the question, is the Porter Hills Village location a desirable location for you? And overwhelmingly, 524 people said yes. Now, here's the interesting thing. I know this doesn't equal 700. Some of these questions, they were allowed to choose more than one option. So they may have said, yes, I like the amenities close by, but I also have family nearby. Typically, people make the decision on a location, and it's usually within 10 miles of where they live, or it is within 10 miles of a family member if they're moving to be closer to someone. So here we go. We got our first question. So the first survey question is, why is Porter Hills a desirable location? So we're asking you again here, for whoever has not filled out the survey, why is Porter Hills a desirable location? So if you can please fill in your vote there. Okay, and Natalie, I don't know when we know if everybody's done or not.
I get to watch them come in here, so they are coming in slowly.
Okay.
We'll give folks just a minute here. We forgot our Jeopardy music for you.
Oh. Do, 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 do. Nobody wants to hear me sing or make noises, trust me.
We'll give them just another minute here. We're missing a few people.
Okay. Give me just a minute.
Okay, we will go ahead and end that one. Thank you.
All right. So the next question that we have from the survey. So we have to go one more there, Nat. There we go. Okay. And that is, what factors would you consider most important if you were moving to a senior living community? Now, this one struck me as a little bit odd. The reason that it's a little bit odd is affordability was the number one overwhelmingly important answer by about 150 points. So we really looked at affordability and said, all right, what does affordability mean? That can be a relative term. So we want to make sure as we go through this, we're going to look at that affordability question again to make sure that we understand. Hold on, Nat, go back, babe. There, okay. Number two was location, which we know, the old real estate term, location, right? And then apartment layout was also another big one. And then that is followed pretty close by dining services. And so we're going to look at those key points pretty specifically to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay, Nat, thank you. Okay, so I figured that when we talk about this is very hard to do without explaining what an entrance fee is. So an entrance fee is part of an independent living model. It really only works in independent living. It means that a portion of your entrance fee is either refunded to you or your family. And what it really means is that this is not a real estate transaction. It means that this is a contract for services and life tenancy. So you don't own it. Now, there's goods and bads about not owning it. The good news is you don't have to fix it. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to incur the 6%. You don't have to carry it while you're selling it. All those things that go along with that. The bad news is you don't get equity. But we believe that being able to live somewhere and for as long as you want, for 5, 10, 15 years, as long as you're there, to never change a light bulb, to call someone if your toilet is clogged, to have your refrigerator replaced or fixed for free, to have your dishwasher replaced or fixed for free. All of those things, I think, make up for the lack of equity, and then also make up for not having to do the 6% sales. What that means is that there is an upfront cost to move into the community, and it varies according to square footage. So whether you move into a 1-bedroom apartment, you'd be paying the least amount of your entrance fee to a, I don't know, Kate, what's the biggest 3,000 square foot with a basement house, right?
Almost 4,000.
Almost, yeah, that would obviously be the biggest. And so the prices vary according to that. So as we go through this, we want to look at what, trying to take price into consideration. What would you consider being an ideal apartment layout for you? All right, so I wanted to take a second to explain that and be thankful that you were not in yesterday's program because it took me about 15 minutes to explain that. Kate, did I do a little bit better today?
Very beautifully done, James.
Thank you, Kate. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please, Natalie?
We are going to pause.
Oh, that's right.
and do a
Sorry.
poll.
Okay. Question. This is why Natalie's here. Do you have a better understanding of an entrance fee model now? And this should not take long. It is literally.
Yeah, this is an easy one. They're coming in quick.
Okay. of my Brio cup too. We should choose like one lucky winner to get a Brio cup sent to their house.
There's still time.
Yeah.
Okay, this is great. Looks like maybe 2 more people out there. Give you just another second.
Okay.
Thank you. We will end that poll. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nat. All right, next slide, we're going to talk about dining. And dining was really cool. Would you take advantage of on-site dining options if you lived in a senior living community? 475 people said yes. What I love is not the 201 people that said maybe, it's the 6 people that said no. 6 people out of 700 said no, they will not take advantage of it. So this means to me that dining is a pretty important thing when moving into a retirement community. So let's talk a little bit more about dining. So what would you expect dining services to include in a senior living community? 650 people said dinner. The second one behind that is lunch. And then the next one behind that was breakfast. Now I know that seems silly, like there's really only breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? There's no snack or any Boy Scouts out there. It was called Cracker Barrel. But here, we have vegetarian food options and a bar, cocktail, multiple dining settings, a waiter, waitress service. Oddly enough, waiter, waitress service was the next one in line. But we are really looking at trends here. And what we find is that most people do choose dinner for their number one meal option. It is the best time to socialize. It's the biggest savings on your grocery bill. And quite honestly, it's one of the things that most people look forward to in the day. So I think we're on track there, Kate, with looking at dinner to make sure that that's something that people are interested in. So if we can go to the next slide. So going along with that dining option, how often do you dine out at restaurants? So this was great because yesterday we had 50 some people in a room, and the overwhelming response here was 274 said 1 time a week. 162 said 2 to 3 times a week. And there was a woman in the back. She goes, nope, nope, nope. And it was great because she might be one of those 35. Well, actually, no, that's the blue, the 83 that say rarely. And I think COVID was also a big factor in this. But what really kind of struck the crowd is that some people said, yes, I go out to eat a lot. And some people said, I don't really go out to eat at all. And so you have these 2 big sides here, right, of the complete opposite. But the majority of the people eat out 1 to 3 times a week. So that says a lot about wanting something like that. So when we talk about dining, we talk about an all-inclusive service. And what does all-inclusive mean when you go to a resort? It means everything's included, right? The only difference that we have is that our meal program is a limited dollar amount. It is roughly $200 per meal. So, or per meal, good Lord, woo, per person per month. So if there are 2 people living in the apartment, it would be $400 per month. It is brought together per quarter. So you can carry dollars over from the quarter. And I can tell you that this is not like going out to eat. So what I mean by that is this is chef-run kitchens. This is wonderful dining. My son works in one of the retirement communities over here on the east side. And I looked at a menu that was in his car, and it was last night, actually, he brought home, because he was working, a pork chop, a barbecue pork chop. I think it was some type of asparagus and broccoli mixture and baked potatoes. And I asked him how much that was, and he pulled out the menu, and I think it was $11. It's a really nice size meal for $11. I think we would all agree that if you went out, you'd be paying more than that for a meal plus a tip and all that stuff. And so, with us, you're getting a very nice meal for a much lower price. So $200 goes a lot farther in our further in our community than it does in outside restaurants. So we're going to look at another question here. And so here we go. Did I miss anything? Nope. So menus change, those types of things. Okay. So number 3. Given your understanding of dining services at a retirement community, which meal would you most often utilize? So let's see if your answers match what the survey answers match.
And everyone loves a food question. These are coming in quickly.
This one's the easiest one, probably. We did have a gentleman say, well, what if breakfast is your biggest meal? Primarily, we'll serve breakfast, lunch and dinner, but we do and will have continue to have other options for breakfast as well.
Okay, thank you for participating.
All right, so the next question that we got to pull up here now is, given your understanding, did we take that one out, Natalie? Question number 4.
Nope, sorry, just launched it, folks.
That's okay. Sorry, everybody. Given your understanding of the inclusive dining program, do you think $200 is adequate in monthly dining dollars? So if you think $200 is not enough, your answer would say, no, it is not adequate. If you think $200 sounds like a pretty good deal, then it's yes. What we figure is that's about, if you were to get a salad and soup or a dessert every time you go out to get it, it's 15 to 20 meals a month per person. I wonder if I can answer.
Maybe give just a couple more seconds on this one.
I tried clicking on it, Natalie. It's not working.
We don't want your answer.
All right,
Okay,
Kate,
thank you.
Kate, you got a sneak peek on the next slide there, so you're coming here. So here comes Kate. We're going to talk about inspiration for what we do.
So when we started to think about reimagining Porter Hills, we really started to think a lot about what it might look like as we continue to build that out. And it's very interesting. Yesterday we met at the Cascade Country Club, and it was interesting because the interior of the Cascade Country Club actually looks a lot like these inspirational photographs. So things that are comfortable, warm, inviting, elegant, I would say a little bit less traditional and a little bit more contemporary, but really in keeping specifically to the community and their likes and not likes. Things are well lit. Seating options are really well built for people as they age. Lots of different things that we do to make doorways a little wider, things a little bit more easier and more comfortable, definitely. Lots of fun spots to stop and enjoy yourself.
All right, so coming back to this, one of the questions that we asked is, where do you currently exercise? Now, again, I think Kate and I agreed on this yesterday that COVID has a lot to do with this answer. 427 people said in and around the home. Only 136 go to a local gym, 24 swimming pool, 16 walking and 6 go YMCA. So overwhelmingly, people are working out at home. Now, I attribute this, 1, to COVID, 2, a lot of seniors don't really want to go to the gym, quote unquote, and are looking for different ways to exercise rather than the traditional kind of like going to the local, what's it called, 24-hour fitness or whatever it is. So Kate, can you talk about the next slide, please? Can I make my Tai Chi joke real quick though?
Sure, make your Tai Chi joke.
So Kate and I have been in this business for a long time, and I can tell you that I remember the first time I brought up Tai Chi in one of these meetings to build a retirement community, I think it was in Wells, Maine, that they were booing and hissing at me because Tai Chi back then was considered like almost, is that a religious thing? Because I'm Catholic or I'm Methodist and I'm not doing Tai Chi. And so I was in my 20s. I had no idea how to answer the question, but I still think that's rather funny. It's not religious.
So I think everybody has a pretty good idea of what personal fitness is, with lots of things like a swimming pool, maybe a walking track, lots of very enthusiastic instructors that get us to do things that we normally wouldn't be doing. Possibilities for large and small groups, things like water aerobics, Tai Chi, stretch and balance, things like that. But there's also a component to wellness that has to do with just feeling good about things, feeling confident, feeling comfortable, and feeling mentally well. So our wellness center that we have reimagined will not only have all of those amazing physical wellness things, but it's going to have a lot of other things that support wellness. So one of the things that will happen is there will be a spa and salon that you can get massages, Reiki, facials, all those kinds of things, nail care. Also are going to have a spa for your pets because pets produce a lot of mental well-being for people, and we want to have a place that can take care of them too. There's a clinic associated with the new wellness center reimagination that is going to be a place that we can do things like grief counseling, things like support groups for Parkinson's disease and things like that, helping people deal with some more chronic illnesses that sometimes happen. And then we also have a room set up as a seasonal affect disorder room, an entire room. So then in the gray days of the winter, which in Grand Rapids, there are quite a few, that there is a place that you can go in and get that dose of vitamin D to keep yourself well and healthy.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kate.
Yep, you're
And
welcome.
I had asked Kate specifically, like, would it be like, I don't know, when I envision this, I kind of picture like a nice chair with sand that you could take your shoes off and rub your toes in. So
I think you need to think flamingo wallpaper.
yes. All right. So after those two slides, we have a question for you. We have two questions for you. If an enhanced wellness center is included at the community, would you utilize it? So meaning all those people that said they would want to work out at home, if it was at the community, would you utilize it? Would you use it if it was there? And while you're filling that out, Kate and I can tell you, I would say even 20 years ago, even maybe, I don't know about 10 years ago, but 20 years ago, Kate, an exercise bike, a little rack of weights, and maybe a treadmill, that was enough for most people back then.
Yeah. And those were back in the days that people worked a lot of physical jobs, so didn't want to come home and work out. And as time has changed and many more of us have worked in offices, that kind of physical exercise is so critical to live a long time and to be as healthy as you can be.
Agreed. All right, so we have one more question here about fitness classes. So we have an instructor at the community who is, the classes are included in your monthly service fee. But we're trying to figure out what people would be interested in. So what types of fitness classes would you participate in? And you can select all that apply. So this one is multiple choice. That is how I got through high school, multiple choice. All right, so Nat, you'll have to tell us when everybody's done.
Okay, I think we got everyone. Thank you.
And everybody who knows, that's Natalie. I just call her Nat. Sometimes she calls me names that we're not allowed to say on this Zoom. All right, you ready for housekeeping, Natalie? Sorry, she's running the show back there, so I'm giving her some grace here.
Thank
Okay.
you. Lots of windows.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. Would you use housekeeping service if it was available to you in a senior living community? 370 people said maybe. I find that very interesting. And I think they're saying maybe because they don't necessarily understand what it entails. Because I'm not that old. Well, I don't know. I'm 45. I guess I'm getting older. And I would love housekeeping. I would love to not have to clean or bend over or any of this other nonsense. So what I'd like to try to do is have a better understanding for what housekeeping is. It is included in your monthly service fee. It's trusted team members. Any person that works in a not-for-profit retirement community has to go through a law enforcement check. So we have to make sure that no one has ever been convicted of a felony. If you are convicted of a felony, there's a time frame of which that felony can go away, which it's pretty long. But we're making sure that we have that our residents and team members, people who work there, are in a safe environment. So understanding that they're vetted and they do basic cleaning. We're talking mopping and vacuuming, a toilet, sink, counter, shower, bath, that kind of thing. So now that you have a better understanding of what that means and it's included and what it entails, would you utilize it? So here's your question. You only get to choose one.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. All right. So, all right. The next question we have is what living accommodation would you prefer? The overwhelming response was a 1-bedroom with a den. Now, while I think that in some markets, I find that to be fairly normal, I would expect the 2-bedroom apartment to have been more popular. And so we're going to try to walk through some apartments a little bit to make sure that we have an understanding of what you're looking for. So what I want to explain real quick here, and Nat's going to get mad at me because I'm moving slides around. There is a slide about 5 down called lifestyle. And what I want everyone to understand is that this lifestyle is very important when you're moving to a retirement community. This is not real estate. It's not a real estate transaction. We talked about that earlier with our entrance fee. Most people are moving to this community because they want to socialize. They don't want to have to cook. They don't want to have to clean. They want to be able to leave their home or apartment or residence or whatever it may be, and be able to get out into the community and have socialization and friendship at their fingertips. And that's what really makes the community so important. And it is an understanding of dining venues and a wellness center and social gatherings and a library and outside space. So the reason I say this is because the apartment is almost like a launching pad. And so it's really, you may leave your apartment at 11 o'clock to go out and go get lunch and then go attend a speaker series. And then there may be a card game, and then there might be a happy hour, and then maybe you go to dinner, and then you go back to your apartment. The time that you spend in your apartment is not as great as the time that you spend in your home. So I think it's really important to understand that when we talk about that. Okay.
But let me add, if you're an introvert, we do respect your introversion and know that there are also people who like having the sanctity of their own home and hanging out there. We have all different kinds of people who live in our communities. So it struck me going back a few slides, Natalie, you don't need to do that, that one of the most overwhelming responses was affordability. And over the years, I've been working in this business for 35 years. It seems like every time, and James, you've probably seen this too, every time we build something new, we build it bigger. And the next time we build it even bigger, and we build it even bigger. But with the economy being the way that it is today, inflation being high, construction cost is at an all-time high, and people are more interested in sustainability and affordability, we have to really think about, is that the model that we want to continue to build, is bigger, bigger, bigger. So one of the things that we took from the inspiration from that is really talking about how to build smarter, how to build lots more built-in storage and hidden, with a really perfect layout. James shared yesterday that when you think about your own house, how much wasted space is in your house. You have a foyer and you have all these spaces that you don't sit in, you don't eat in, you don't sleep in, but you have a lot of spaces, hallway spaces and things that take up room that really don't contribute to your actual life. So when we started looking at our apartment designs, we talked about those kinds of things being important. And in order to continue to be affordable as we move forward, could we make things smaller and just smarter? Okay, so we're going to share some floor plans with you. We actually looked at a 1-bedroom floor plan, and we don't get a huge call for 1-bedrooms, but when you think about, as James described, the lifestyle in the communities, we also have guest suites where if you have a guest that you want to stay, they can stay right in the community in a guest suite. maybe you don't need to pay for a second bedroom that you're not going to use all the time. So giving people lots of options. So this is a 687 square foot. There's two versions of this. As you can see, when you go in the entry door, that you walk into a large open floor plan. So the kitchen, dining room, and living room are all one open space with very large window that lights the whole area. And then entering into the master bedroom, having a walk-in closet, a washer and dryer, and then a master bath that's large enough to be able to handle anything that might happen over time, a knee replacement, anything like that, so that you can move around in that bathroom. We also have the opportunity to add a balcony, a deck, a 3-season room, 4-season room. We're still exploring that. And that adds some additional square footage to that space. The one thing it does though is when a 3-season or 4-season room has a roof on it. So you do cut down on the natural light in the interior of your apartment.
All right.
So it looks like
Kate-
we're ready to vote.
Yep, sorry. So I want to be clear about the questions that are coming up. What you would want to live in is actually a question about 4 down from this. So this is asking your opinion, whether you would want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment or not. Do you think that the amount of square footage is acceptable? Yes or no? And it is 687 square foot, and you've seen the plans. And then the second part of that question, is this an ideal layout for you? So for a 1-bedroom, do you think it's a good layout or not? Whether you would live there or not? Just asking you that question.
Okay, and we're taking a little bit more time on this one, so we'll be sure to give maybe 20, 25 more seconds.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Natalie. So somebody just told me too, you can move the poles out of the way if you click on it and drag around. I guess you click on the top of the poles and you can move them around. I thought that was pretty cool. Hope that's helpful for someone.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, now we move on to the 1-bedroom sunroom. Kate?
Mhm. Okay, so people talked about a 1-bedroom den kind of being their most sought after floor plan. And again, this creates kind of that great room space with a full open concept from the door all the way out. You have a much larger space in here for a dining room, a more formal dining room table if that you would like. And it also has an island. The sunroom is quite a big space. That could be a 3-season room, 4-season room. That could also become a den. And then you have the bedroom configuration the same.
All right, so in looking at the question here, same concept. A 1-bedroom plus sunroom floor plan, is the square footage acceptable at 845? I think that's actually a pretty good sized apartment.
Mhm.
And then do you consider this to be an ideal layout? Whether you would live there or not, just we're asking your opinion of the floor plan.
We'll give about 10 more seconds.
Okay.
All right, we got everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Kate, here you go.
Okay, they get bigger. So this is actually the 2-bedroom. So one of the things I want to talk about in a 2-bedroom, we care for lots of couples, and probably some of the proudest moments of my career is how we've been able to keep couples together despite different things that have happened with people's health. One of the reasons that we're able to do that in independent living is because we divide bedrooms into each half of the living space, so that if anybody had surgery, needed to recover, needed some home health care, that there are distinct areas that you could be that would not disrupt the other person during that healing process. So in this 2-bedroom layout, the open floor plan concept becomes central. Again, something that you've seen before, larger space for a more formal dining room. You actually, on the left-hand side of the slide, see that we have an ensuite bedroom situation, walk-in closet, master bedroom, and then the bathroom. And on the other side, you have a nicely appointed guest bedroom, and then a second bathroom that can be used with the guest bedroom, or it can be used for a guest that's visiting you.
I think that's one of my favorite features, Kate, is that you can use the bathroom without having to go through the bedroom if you do have a guest there.
Exactly.
All right, so again, another question here, two bedroom A floor plan. Is the square footage at 1,000 square foot acceptable? So do you think that's enough square footage for that size apartment or not? And then is this an ideal layout? Like, do you like the layout?
Maybe just another few seconds.
Okay,
Almost everyone.
okay. When we go to the next one, I will tell you that we had a gentleman in the crowd yesterday who said, "That's bigger than my first house."
I grew up in a 900 square foot house with 1 bathroom and 5 people. So these do seem generous to be certain.
I agree.
So this is our second bedroom, the B plan, and this is a much, much larger space. You can see that the rooms are wider, which means the windows get bigger, allowing lots more natural light in. And you can see that there's a really big great room concept, a very, very generous space in there, and that there are bedrooms and bathrooms on both sides. One of the things I want to point out in the lower left-hand corner, which I didn't share before, the mechanical room for this apartment actually opens into the hallway, so that much of the maintenance, all your furnace filter changes, all those humidifier pad changes, all that stuff can happen from the hallway, so people don't have to get into your personal space and disrupt you. And it also, because most people don't live on the same floor as their furnace, provides some more quietness and sound attenuation to that. So this is a very large space, 1,342 square feet. Double vanities, has all the bells and whistles, a full size side-by-side washer and dryer. A really very, very nice, generous space, and all useful space.
Agreed. Again, you know, that concept of a house may have a 2,000 square foot, but honestly, it may only have 1,400 square foot of actual usable space between hallways and foyers and all that.
Yeah.
All right, so back to our poll here. The 2-bedroom B floor plan, is the square footage of 1,342 enough? Is that acceptable? Yes or no? And then, is this an ideal layout? Do you think this is a good layout or not?
And we got everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so I want to remind everybody while we're going on here, the Q&A, I believe you can ask some questions in there. I didn't see any come through. So if you click Q&A, if you have a question, you can type it in, and myself, Natalie, or Kate will answer those. So I want to make sure that you have the ability to do that. So I want to remind you again about the lifestyle of the community. You're not necessarily buying into the community because of the apartment. That's one part of it. You're buying into a community really because of the lifestyle that you would enjoy. So I just wanted to be clear on that as we move forward here. So Nat, can we do next slide? All right.
Just pausing there for another poll.
Great. Okay. So here's the one where you tell us what you want after seeing these floor plans. After gaining a better understanding of the lifestyle as a resident of a retirement community, which living accommodation would you prefer? Now, not on here was a duplex home with garage or a single family home with garage. But if that's something that you would think you'd like more than these apartments, let us know.
All right, these ones are coming in a little bit slower. We'll give about 20 seconds.
Okay. I think we're doing pretty good today, though.
We got everyone. Thank you.
Great.
I would agree.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so next is designs and finishes. So we're going back to that original slide that said 606 people, their biggest consideration was affordability. So, you know, understanding that affordability means that, does it mean that you would be looking at how to get into the community as inexpensively as possible? Do you choose a smaller apartment? You know, those kinds of things. So we have a question that's going to go in line with this.
So in speaking a little bit about amenities, we wanted to talk a little bit about kind of fit and finish of apartments. So many of you have probably bought homes and had to choose a whole list of things at cost to yourselves when you wanted to upgrade things. We're curious how this group feels about that. Would you want the standard apartment finishes to be high end and all inclusive and paid for in your upfront entry fee? Or would you prefer to have a menu of options that you could choose what you would decide to upgrade and what you would not, and pay cash for that at the time?
Great insight there, Kate. All right, so upgrades and finishes. How would you prefer to pay for upgrades and finishes? Built into the cost of an entrance fee or paid for in cash separate from the entrance fee? I think I know what the answer is going to be on that one. You want to take a bet on that one, Catherine?
It could go either way for me, James.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be built into the cost. That's my opinion.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yep.
I might owe you a frosty beverage.
And waiting on a couple more, maybe 10 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, all right, we got everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Great.
you so much. This is really helpful in
Yeah,
our
thank you.
planning for the future. Is getting information from people like this really helps uncloud things.
Absolutely agree. All right, this is where Kate and I have some interesting conversations. Really what that is we asked around, would you like a private outdoor space, meaning a patio, a deck, or a balcony? 529 people said yes. So this, by a private space, we mean something that would be connected to your apartment. So there's going to be two parts of this. One is, Natalie, can you go to the next slide real quick, please? Kate, can you talk about some of this real quick
Sure.
so people understand what outdoor spaces other than their apartment would be available?
Okay, well, the first thing to know is any outdoor space in these communities is beautiful and very nicely appointed and doesn't need to be maintained by anyone on this call, because that is a big thing. We shovel snow, we mow lawns, we weed flower gardens, we do all those things. But we like to think about outdoor spaces in all of our communities as really a connection to nature. Again, it's just another part of that wellness planning. So in this particular community, we've talked about community gardens, we've talked about water features, we've talked about walking paths so that you can get exercise in the months that are nice to be outside moving around. There would be lots of green spaces for people to take refuge. So with that, in your community of amenities and all of these lovely green spaces, we want to know really personally what you would expect in your own living space and how important that connection is. So just remember that that added sunroom, because of the roof that sits over your main windows, it is going to take the light down a little bit in your main living spaces.
Okay, so Natalie, can we do Question 14 now, please. Okay, here we go.
Yep, we have launched.
Understanding that you may have additional costs prior to move-in to have a personal outdoor space, which means you had to pay a little bit more money to get it. Would you opt in to have an outdoor space? Would you choose, knowing you had to pay a little bit more for it, would you want an outdoor space or not? Yes, no, or not sure? And that again would go back to the balcony, deck kind of thing. And remember, we're using this because a 3 Seasons room would be a lot more expensive than a deck too. So we may come back at one point and say, what do you want after that?
And we really want to understand, we've spent a lot of time over the years modifying some of our existing products. And many of the things that we add is an outdoor space, which is much more expensive to do after the fact than it is when you're building the building.
Mhm. Kate has learned that the hard way with some
Yes,
sunrooms
I
at one of
have.
our campuses. Kate, how much was it to put a sunroom on when you built that? Do you remember?
When we built our original cottage product, the sunroom was 16,000. It cost almost 40,000 to add it on after somebody had moved in.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now you know why we're asking. All right, Natalie, can we go to the next question? All right, this is a hot topic for us because we need to really figure out how much effort's not the right word, how much
Infrastructure.
infrastructure we need to build into this. When we ask the question, what type of high-speed Wi-Fi internet service would you expect to use in your senior living community? The overwhelming response was my own Wi-Fi internet just for me, provided by the senior living community. And what came to light out of this question is a little bit more of, it was more around it, safety or security. Can I bank on an open network? Is it an open network? Is it a private network? Those kinds of things. So we want to be able to tell you, number one, that it will be a private network. And then also the question is, we have to follow HIPAA regulations through our servers. And I say HIPAA regulations because that's about one of the highest security profiles you have to have. It's right there with hospitals. So it's a very secure connection. I wanted to share that. When you are utilizing internet services, what are you doing? Are you emailing, shopping, working, streaming, or social media? You only get to choose one.
And part of the reason that we're asking this question is because we want to make sure that our broadband is strong enough that if people are doing mostly streaming, that everybody could be streaming at the same time without any interruption to anybody else.
Yeah. And Kate, honestly, when we, one of the survey questions was, how do you use the internet? And the number one response was Netflix, and number 2 was Prime. And it was a lot. It was overwhelmingly Netflix and Prime.
So we just need to be sure that we can provide you that luxury.
Sure. All right, how we doing now?
Just another couple seconds here.
Okay, that's great.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're getting towards the end. Thank you all for hanging in with us.
Oh, we do have one more, I
Oh,
believe.
there it is. Nope, one more. Go down.
I believe we have one other internet question.
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, yes, okay. Considering that, my family is very big on streaming videos.
Mine too.
Right, so, like, we don't really have cable. They watch their little Disney Plus, and the older kids are watching Netflix and that kind of stuff. So the question here is, if you're watching that kind of stuff, you're going to want a faster internet connection. If you are not into that stuff and all you're really doing is kind of browsing the internet, you may not need a fast internet connection. So the question is, would you be willing to pay extra for a faster than standard internet speed? And where this comes in is, if the overwhelming response is yes, we may just build it into the package. If the overwhelming response is no, we may ask you to pay that separately outside of your traditional monthly service fee.
Just the upgrade.
Just the upgrade, correct?
Yep.
And I was teasing the other day that this was a question 20 years ago. We asked people if they wanted long distance included on their phones or not. Now there's no such thing as long distance. I don't even
Yes,
think.
it used to be just a doorbell and a phone cord. That was the extent of ID. I do have to say, I kind of miss those days.
I agree. All right, so here's this is one of our last questions. When we polled everyone for the survey, have you ever considered moving into a senior living community? I think it's the Grand Rapids market, which is one of the most saturated and educated markets in the United States. The overwhelming response was yes. So I want to ask you this question today. Given your understanding gained today, would you consider moving to a senior living community? And you only get to choose one.
All right, and those ones came in quick. Thank you.
All right, and we have one more, I think, Natalie.
I think you are right.
Oh, okay, here we go. This is a very interesting slide. When do you think you might be ready to move? So what's the most interesting about this is the largest pieces of the puzzle, 197 people chose within 5 years. And then the other blue, did we move this, Natalie? No, 155 said within 10 years. 113 said within 2 years. So more than half of that puzzle says that they want to move in between 2 and 5 years. What I have seen is a lot of people that say 5 years, they pick that number because it's kind of random. And I say it's an even number, but it's an odd number, but in years, it's 1 year, 5 years, whatever. And so I think it's kind of an arbitrary number in some cases. So understanding these floor plans, what's included, what we're talking about doing, what would be your time frame? So understanding that Porter Hills Village plans to complete this expansion in the next 3 years or sooner, featuring these types of amenities, floor plans, and more, what is your time frame to move? All right. All right, so questions. So Natalie, you said is the Q&A portion of the on the bottom of this, we didn't get any questions come through. So I don't know if that's not working right or we're literally good enough to not have questions. I find that hard to believe.
We did have one question that I'm sure Kate could speak to.
Okay.
One question was in regards to one of the 2-bedroom floor plans that did not feature a sunroom, and if that is something that could be added.
So when we build a multi-story building, we have to kind of commit to what kind of projections are going to come off the building from a structural perspective. So based on the information that we're gathering from people over these series of focus groups, what we're hoping to determine is whether it's a good investment for us to put that sunroom on every space or balcony on every space, deck on every space, or whether it's something that we are going to not do. In a multi-story building, it would be very, very difficult to modify it. Not to mention it would look really strange to have a building that had a deck, a sunroom. It might look like kind of a big smile with a few teeth missing. So architects typically don't like buildings that look like that. So what we're really trying to gain from your participation today, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, you sharing an hour of your time with us and answering these questions for us really makes us understand better and design better for the future. So thank you very much. And likely with Porter Hills Village, because it's a large community already and we're planning on adding things, there's going to be a housing option for almost everybody. There will be some spaces with sunrooms, some spaces that are a little bit different, and larger homes and other amenities to share. So
Agreed.
hopefully that answers your question.
Yep, and one more question came in here, Kate, and it says, any intention of building houses and duplexes such as Cook Valley? Do you want to answer that, or you want me to?
No, I can answer that. So right now, that affordability comment looms large with all of us, especially in the current economy that we're living in. We have a large amount of homes at Cook Valley already, and a fair amount of townhomes at Porter Hills Village. At this point, we don't have plans to build single homes or duplexes, but we've also saved a little bit of property in each one of our communities to do that if that was the direction that our customers were interested in. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep, looks like we got them all answered. Okay. So I think that's everyone. So thank you very much. Catherine, thank you for your time. I'm the only one who calls her Catherine, by the way. Kate, thank you for your time. Natalie, you did a great job. Thank you so much for helping with all of this and really making sure we stay on track. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate.
much.
You'll be hearing from us soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.